Police officer David Harrison didn't go to the courthouse that day just to say goodbye to his partner Max. But what Max did in that moment would change their 10-year partnership in David's life forever. Because sometimes the biggest betrayal comes from the one you trust most. The cold marble corridors of the Riverside City Courthouse were nearly empty in the early morning hours. Police officer David Harrison walked heavily toward the courtroom, his uniform fitting properly for the last time. The 42-year-old experienced officer had lived the most meaningful period of his life over the past 10 years. Beside him, his loyal partner Max, a brown-eyed, powerfully built German Shepherd who had been in every moment of his life, moved forward as always, calm but alert, his ears constantly tracking the sounds around him. David's heart was beating as if it would burst from his chest. This was the last official day he would spend with Max. The department had decided it was time for Max to retire. The reason was simple. Max had turned 8 years old, and for K9 units, this meant the age limit. For 10 years, they had protected the streets together, saved each other's lives in countless dangerous operations, kept watch in the same car at night, and supported each other in the most difficult moments. They had walked the darkest streets together, caught the most dangerous criminals together. Now the cold and merciless decisions of bureaucracy were separating them. "Everything will end today, buddy," David whispered, stroking Max's head. As the dog's soft fur slipped between his fingers, dozens of memories they had shared passed before his eyes. When he first got Max, the dog was only 2 years old, excited and energetic. Now he had become mature, experienced, and David's soulmate. The dog looked at him as if he understood every word. He noticed the tears beginning to form in David's eyes but said nothing. He just continued walking calmly beside him. The courtroom was much more crowded than David had expected. Department executives sat in the front rows with serious faces, while David's colleagues, several journalists, reporters from local television channels, and citizens who were fans of Max sat in the back. This K9 pair had become legendary in the city. Cases that made headlines in newspapers with their solutions, lives they saved, criminals they caught. Everyone had come to witness Max's official retirement ceremony, to watch the last days of this legendary K9 pair. David stood before the judge, holding Max's special leather leash tightly. This leash had been given to him as a gift after a successful operation in Max's first year. The dog sat beside him as always, but there was something strange today. Max's ears were more upright than normal, and his eyes constantly scanned the room, as if searching for an invisible danger. David noticed this behavior, but thought the stress of the ceremony was the cause. "Officer Harrison," Judge Rodriguez began, placing his glasses on the tip of his nose. His voice was official and cold but respectful. "Today we are here to bid farewell to your K9 partner Max for the extraordinary service you have shown to our city over many years. This dog has caught 47 criminals during his service, found 12 missing persons, played a critical role in 23 narcotics operations, and saved countless lives." David felt the lump in his throat. His voice came out shaky. "Your Honor, Max wasn't just a work partner. He's my lifesaver, my family, my closest friend. The nights we slept in the same car, the most dangerous streets we walked together when he protected me under gunfire." He paused. "Please don't take him from me. He's not just a dog to me, he's my brother." The judge nodded with a sympathetic expression. "I understand these feelings very well, Officer Harrison. The bond between you is known and appreciated by everyone. However, considering Max's age and recent health reports, the department believes that his retirement is in the interest of both the dog and public safety." Just then, something unexpected happened. Max suddenly broke his normally calm and disciplined posture and jumped to his feet. His ears were pricked and his nostrils were flaring as he breathed deeply. His body was tense, his muscles ready. David knew this behavior of the dog very well. Max only acted like this when he sensed real, imminent danger. "Max, what's wrong, buddy?" David whispered anxiously, placing his hand on the dog's back. But the dog seemed not to hear his voice. Max was looking carefully and focused toward the main exit door at the back of the courtroom and making a low, ominous growl. Everyone in the room began to notice Max's sudden change. The dog was pulling on the leash in David's hand, trying to move toward the door, becoming more tense with each passing second. David's heart raced. 10 years of experience had taught him that Max never gave false alarms, that there was real danger behind every warning. Especially during bomb threats, Max's behavior had saved lives. "Your Honor," David said, his voice tense and worried. "Max's behavior is not normal at all. He only acts like this when he senses real danger. Maybe we should evacuate the room." The judge frowned, trying to assess the seriousness of the situation. "Officer Harrison, please control your dog. This is an official ceremony and—" But Max could no longer be stopped. His growls were getting louder, and now he was clearly barking sharp, warning barks toward the door. This familiar sound reminded David of old operations. This was Max's alarm bark. People in the room began to get restless. Some had stood up. Some had begun to look anxiously toward the exit. Reporters began turning on their cameras. "Everyone stay calm," David called out, trying to maintain his authority. "Max senses danger. Please don't panic. This dog has never been wrong in 10 years. Just at that critical moment, the courtroom door slowly opened and two men entered. At first glance, they were normal-looking, well-dressed men in expensive suits. But when Max saw them, he went completely crazy. The dog became aggressive in a way David had never seen in his life, showing his teeth and barking as if mad with rage. This wasn't just a warning. This was hostility. "Who are these men?" asked the judge, noticing the increasing tension in the room. "No one was invited to the ceremony. Where's security?" The two men advanced slowly, with confident steps. The first was about 50 years old, gray-haired, cold-eyed man. The one next to him looked younger, but had a chilling expression in his eyes. Both were carrying bags and constantly looking at Max. "Your Honor, I'm Agent Morrison from the Federal Human Trafficking Unit," he said in a cold voice. "This is Agent Chen. This K9 needs to be handed over to us immediately." David was shocked. His world felt like it was collapsing. "What? By what authority? Max is my partner. He's been with me for 10 years. Morrison pulled out a document and handed it over. "Federal investigation order. This dog is vital to a very critical ongoing operation. We need to take him immediately." Max's barking had now turned into screaming. The dog seemed to know these men very well, but this was clearly hostility mixed with fear. David couldn't understand this reaction from his partner, who had been by his side for 10 years. Max would never attack police. "Your Honor," David said, his voice trembling, "why is Max acting so aggressively toward these men? He never attacks innocent people. On the contrary, he loves children. He's gentle with the elderly. This isn't normal." Agent Chen stepped forward, a secret smile appearing on his face. "The dog's behavior isn't surprising to us at all, Officer Harrison. He's, let's say, specially trained." "Specially trained?" David's voice rose, a mix of anger and confusion. "Max is my partner. I know all the training he received. I was at every course. What special training are you talking about?" Morrison adopted a cold and calculating smile. "Officer Harrison, I'm afraid there's a lot you don't know. Max was practicing with you before starting his real mission." These words pierced David's heart like a knife. His legs began to tremble. "What do you mean?" "Speak clearly. Max was our man from the beginning. While working with you for the past 10 years, he was actually gathering information about you and your department. Every operation, every move, every plan, all of it was being recorded by us." Everyone in the room was shocked. Journalists were frantically taking notes. Cameras were recording. David's world began to collapse. "This is impossible. Max saved my life, ran with me under gunfire, shared every moment with me. Of course, Chen said with a cold expression. The most important feature of a good spy is to appear trustworthy, and Max was truly a perfect actor. Max was still barking, but now his behavior was different, as if he was expressing his deep anger and hatred toward these men. David looked carefully into the dog's eyes and noticed something. Fear. Max was afraid, but not just for himself, but for David too. Wait a minute, David said with a sudden intuition, his heart filling with hope. Max isn't trying to attack these men. He's trying to protect himself from them. He's trying to protect me from them. Morrison's face suddenly tensed. Nonsense. Hand over the dog immediately. This is a federal order. David crouched down next to Max. The dog immediately came to him, his body trembling but with unwavering determination in his eyes. Max, tell me, buddy, what did these men really do to you? Just then, Max made an unexpected move. He stuck his nose into the inner pocket of David's police jacket and searched for something there. David reached into his pocket in surprise and pulled out a small cold metal object, a USB drive. What's this? David muttered, examining the USB. Did you put this here, Max? When? Morrison and Chen exchanged panicked looks. Morrison lunged forward. Give us that USB immediately. This is a national security matter. No, David said determinedly, gripping the USB tightly. First, I'm going to find out why Max is so scared and what's on this USB. The judge, realizing the seriousness of the situation, signaled to the security guards. We need to find out what's on this USB immediately. Call the technician. As Morrison stepped forward, Max began barking ferociously again. The dog moved in front of David, taking him under protection. Okay, buddy, I understand, David said. You're trying to protect me from these men, aren't you? The tension in the room was at its peak. Everyone was holding their breath waiting. The judge called the court technician and demanded immediate examination of the USB. When the big screen opened, everyone in the room's eyes froze. The USB contained hundreds of photos, documents, audio recordings, and videos. These were striking evidence showing Morrison and Chen's involvement in illegal human trafficking operations. Max had secretly been collecting this evidence for the past 6 months and hiding it in David's pocket at moments when he didn't notice. Among the documents shown on the screen were fake IDs, photos of kidnapped children, money transfer records, and most shocking of all, video recordings showing Max being forced to undergo drug detection training. In the video, Max's suffering and fear were clearly visible. Max, did you secretly collect this evidence? David asked, looking into the dog's eyes, his voice full of admiration and amazement. Veterinarian Dr. Sarah Collins suddenly stood up from the back of the room. Your Honor, as Max's veterinarian, I want to make an urgent statement. Please, Doctor. Collins, we're listening. When Max came for routine checkup 6 months ago, he looked very stressed and depressed. I found various drug residues in his blood tests. At first, I couldn't understand how he was exposed without David's knowledge, but now everything is clear. Max witnessed these men's dirty operations and was forced to be in drug environments. Morrison headed for the exit, but security guards stopped him. Max isn't just a dog, he shouted frantically. He's a trained federal agent. He belongs to us. David stood up, Max standing proudly beside him. Max was never your agent. He's my partner, my dear friend, my family. And apparently he's been watching you and your filth for a very long time, collecting evidence. You betrayed him, not the other way around. The video recordings shown on the screen continued to shock everyone. In the footage secretly taken by Max, Morrison and Chen could be seen kidnapping children, seizing money, and threatening Max. The judge took a deep breath and banged the gavel on the table. In this case, Max's retirement is immediately canceled. He is a hero, a true hero of this city and this country. Morrison and Chen are being arrested on charges of human trafficking, abuse of federal authority, and animal cruelty. The room erupted in spontaneous applause. People had stood up and were applauding Max. David hugged Max, tears streaming down his cheeks. "You never betrayed me, buddy. On the contrary, you saved me, and who knows how many innocent people." Max wagged his tail joyfully and lovingly licked David's face. None of their 10-year partnership had been a lie. Max was truly a loyal friend, so loyal that he had secretly gathered intelligence, risking his own life to protect David from dangerous people. Dr. Collins stepped forward. Max's behavioral changes over the past 6 months are now clear. He was living in fear but trying to protect David. A true hero. Journalists in the room were frantically taking photos. Reporters were broadcasting the news live. It was clear this story would make national headlines. That day, David and Max celebrated not only their partnership, but also the victory of justice and the power of brotherhood. Max's betrayal was actually the greatest display of loyalty and love, because true friendship is sometimes measured by sacrifices made silently and secretly. As they left the courtroom, David stroked Max's neck. "I consider myself the luckiest person in the world to have a friend like you, buddy." Max walked happily beside him, as if he understood everything. Their story wasn't over. New, more beautiful pages were just beginning. A few weeks later, Max was declared an honorary citizen of the city at a medal ceremony. David began working with Max in a new special operations unit. Thanks to the network that Morrison and Chen brought down, 23 children were rescued, and a huge human trafficking ring was solved. How did this story make you feel? Share with us in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for similar miraculous stories.